Did you know that World War I soldiers used to make jewelry in the trenches? It's true that love exists, even in the horror and chaos of war. But how did an aluminum ring, made from a German shell during a storm, arrive at the heart of one of literature's greatest love stories? You're listening to The Voice of Jewels, a podcast from L'École, School of Jewelry Arts, supported by Cleef Arpels, unveiling the stories and secrets behind history's most fascinating jewels. Guillaume Apollinaire's passionate love for the beautiful and rebellious Lou is the story of how a crude ring turns to gold, and how a poet, bruised by love, turns tragedy into beauty, as told in Poems to Lou, a masterpiece of French literature. This is a story about love and a precious jewel of war. The ring sits on a nightstand by Louise's bed, 10 grams of gold engraved with childlike letters. There are 3 words on the ring's cartouche: Guy loves Lou. The old aluminum ring is enshrined inside of a bright gold one. Louise pulls a pile of love letters from a box. Each is signed Guillaume Apollinaire. Letters from 1915, the same epoch as the ring, written during the blood and carnage of World War I.
This story completely exemplifies the fact that the more people find themselves in a horrible situation, the middle of this awful war in these trenches, they're thinking about symbols of love for the people they care about, the people they love, and they think about a jeweled symbol.
Inez Eckel, jewelry historian and teacher at L'École, School of Jewelry Arts.
And the best possible jeweled symbol that expresses how much they love the person, to symbolize the fact that this union between them counted even if the whole world was about to melt down.
It's September 1914. Louise Coligny is 33. She's one of the first women to fly an airplane. She dyes her hair with henna. She's carefree, passionate, cheeky. But when she enters a restaurant in the old town of Nice, she's not expecting to be hit by a whirlwind. 5 men are sitting at a table on the other side of the room. Louise knows all of them, except for one. He's proud, handsome, and one of the greatest poets of his time. His collection of poems called Alcohols has just been published. The poet raises his glass to France, to victory, anticipating France's victory. Louise hears his name for the first time, Guillaume Apollinaire. He shoots her a burning look. When he goes to leave, he confesses his undying love for her. Later that evening, they smoke opium pipes. She politely refuses his advances. Her heart already belongs to another. The poet seems to understand, but from that moment on, he sends her passionate love letters. Louise gets a new name, Lou. Despite his repeated efforts, Lou refuses to give in. In a kind of perverse desperation, Guillaume announces he's enlisting in the army. Lou is visibly shaken by the news. It's evening, November 1914. Lou goes to Guillaume's room. They embrace. The pleasure is intense, almost explosive. The following day, Apollinaire leaves for the army. This is where the idea of a war ring begins to take shape. The bloodiness of war becomes a symbol of their love and union.
War, of course, is a very special time and place to be.
Léonard Puy, doctor in art history and teacher researcher at L'École, School of Jewelry Arts.
You're far away from home, you're far away from your friends, you're far away from your lover, of course, and you will focus your attention, your sentiments, your emotion also on very trivial objects, materials, which also can be used for jewelry making, just like bullets, just like rough metal, etc. And we know quite a few examples of jewel pieces, sentimental jewels, which have been made on the battlefield for loved ones.
Tonight the sky teems with shells. Stars glitter. Comrades fall. Guillaume Apollinaire has been on the front for 2 months. His love for Lou hits him like a sharp sting. His letters and poems mix the cruelty of war with passion and sensuality. It's March 1915. Guillaume gets leave for the first time. He reunites with Lou at a hotel in Nîmes. She confesses her love for another man. The lovers part ways, and Apollinaire returns to the front. He continues sending her letters and poems. The foot soldiers make rings for their wives and girlfriends. So I'm sending you mine, he writes. Every day without fail, Guillaume writes to Lou with the same request. I need to know, oh my Lou, the exact measurement of your finger, because I want to carve you a pure ring from this metal of horror. The metal of horror, as Apollinaire calls it, is aluminum. He becomes all consumed with the ring and Lou's absent body.
When aluminium was discovered for jewelry use in mid-19th century, it was one of the most expensive metal used at that time, much more than gold or platinum. And it is because of its very large quantity that it became less and less expensive with the years passing. And this is why when Guillaume Apollinaire used aluminium for his own ring, it is a very cheap and trivial material, but which is very interesting for him because it has a coldness, a whiteness also, which inspires him in terms of poetry. Still today, aluminium is used by many jewelers. We can talk about Daniel Brush, for instance, who loves to brush the aluminium for its brilliance, for its whiteness, for its coldness also. It is still a very popular metal used by many jewelry makers.
April 10th. This morning all the men went looking for rockets, hoping to find aluminum to make rings. But to our disappointment, all of the rockets were made of copper. Guillaume writes, Send me the diameter of your ring finger in millimeters. It's very important. 2 days later, inside the workshop, Guillaume observes the handiwork of an army jeweler. He slips the aluminum washer around a wooden stick and files it down. It doesn't need to be perfect. What matters is that it comes from the trenches. The metal is a symbol of terror. In a kind of poetic alchemy, a metal weapon transforms into an instrument of love and fusion. This ring is both Mars and Venus.
Well, World War I, of course, had, an overwhelming impact on the fact that women are working. Women have driven ambulances and been nurses in World War I. They're going to take roles in jewelry that they never took before. We had Suzanne Belperron, we have René Puissant, we have Jeanne Toussaint. They are pioneers. And of course, they push forward all these styles we were talking about that are completely different. This horrible war indisputably changed everything with jewelry, and there's no going back.
God, how pretty is war, full of song and leisure. I have polished this ring. The breeze blends with your sighs. Apollinaire writes in Le Médaillon toujours fermé, the closed medallion. When Lou receives the jewel, she's overwhelmed with emotion. Guy loves Lou is inscribed on the ring. Lou immediately writes back to Guillaume, thanking him. He replies amicably. She continues wearing the ring, but the love letters are becoming further apart and less intense. The truth is, Guillaume Apollinaire is tired of Lou's detachment and her love for the other man. One morning in January 1916, on the battlefront, a piece of shrapnel rips through Guy's helmet and hits his skull. He undergoes surgery in Paris. Weeks later, he meets Lou for the final time at Place de l'Opéra. You're waiting for me with poor aluminum rings on your fingers, pale like absence, tender like memory. The metal of our love, metal like dawn. Oh, letters, our dear letters. The meeting is distressing for them both. There's a sense of both intimacy and escape. Standing with the person you've loved so deeply. The blame, the awkward conversation, the wistful looks. But all the while, Lou kept the ring on her finger.
Well, Just thinking about this ring of Guy for Lou, it's incredibly touching. The sentimental jewel, whether it's a lover's eye, whether it's a locket with hair, it can take on a life of its own that way beyond the story of the people who are long gone, who died even hundreds or years ago. It can make us relive their story, and it can take on its own life that can continue to be immortal, really, because we enter into a dream thinking about this symbol, and we go into that sort of reverie with that person who's long gone. This sentimental jewel becomes a vessel.
War separates lovers because the world around them changes. We're with Lou in her bedroom, the older Lou. She's leafing through old letters and poems, murmuring to herself, "I hurt his feelings. I didn't understand him. We were both too different. It could never have worked. Time would have reunited us. But death came in between. Such a terribly sad thing." Lou gives her permission for Guillaume's love poems from the war to be published. Shadow of My Love and Poems to Lou are some of the poet's greatest works. And the ring still holds their deepest secrets. The Voice of Jewels is a podcast from L'École, School of Jewelry Arts, supported by Cleef Arpels. Written by Martin Queneon and Aram Kebadjian. Performed by Eduardo Ballerini and produced by Bababam.